Good evening. Welcome to the Spring-Ford Area School District Board meeting. Today is Monday, September 23rd. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Spring-Ford Board of School Directors believes the community has the right to bring before the board issues and concerns they may have about items on the agenda or about items in general which affect the district or their children. Because of this belief and philosophy, the board will schedule a time at the beginning and conclusion of every meeting to have an opportunity for community members to share their concerns with the board. At the start of the meeting, members from the public may comment on agenda items only. The school board will move through the meeting agenda, then at the end, when prompted, there will be a time for public comment. This meeting is being filmed to be broadcast on community cable channels and online. Individuals intending to make public comments should be aware that they are being filmed. Speakers will be asked to state their name and the area in which you reside before your comment.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Mrs. Bicker, could we please have a roll call?
Yes. In person is Mrs. Deerdorf, Mrs. Goldsmith, Mr. Lackey, Dr. Sharma, Mrs. Weingarten, Mrs. Westwood, Dr. Wright, and Mrs. Hermans. Mr. Jackson is absent.
Okay, we will just keep an eye out for him on Zoom. I believe he did say he was going to attempt to make it, although he is aboard in a Acela train to Boston for work, so hopefully he'll be able to join us. Okay, with that said, any announcements, Mr. Rizzo?
I have none at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to public to be heard on agenda items only. If there's anyone that wishes to speak on an agenda item, please approach the podium with your name, township of residence, as well as the agenda item for which you're referencing. Okay, moving on, seeing as though no one is approaching the podium, we'll move on to board and committee reports, and we'll start with Dr. Wright for the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit.
Thank you very much. Highlights from the August 28th board meeting at the MCIU. The MCIU program highlighted Sandy Edling, the CFO, Director of the Office of Business Services. She provided the MCIU board with an update on the new MCIU budget overview for the upcoming fiscal year. Dr. Speaker, the director, highlighted the many events that have been happening throughout the entire MCIU organization to prepare for this coming school year, including the MCIU Summer Academy, new employee orientation, opening of the new Discovery Center, the Early Learning Academy, Anderson School, Southeast Youth Development Center, Pathways to Empowerment. It currently has 5 students enrolled in it. That's a whole other program we're doing. We looked at several policies, just approved some contracts, human resource updates, 53 new employees, 5 changes of status, 1 retirement, 18 resignations, some consortium and contract agreements. Basically, we welcomed a couple of new board members there. And other than that, we will meet this Wednesday, September 25th, at the MCIU at 6:45.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Any questions or comments? Okay, Mrs. Weingarten for the Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center.
Thank you. The JFC met on September 9th via Zoom. We met via Zoom because of the Labor Day holiday and the other committee meetings that were scheduled later that evening. Mr. Livingood is working with our solicitor specializing in school policy from Fox and Rothschild to discuss the direction with Title IX and how to implement those new changes for 2024. We are offering our staff online ALICE training and will plan to hold the live course on November 5th. That will be provided by our protective services instructors and 1 North Montgo instructor on safety care. This is needed now because we've had so many new staff since the last training. Our morning students are in the process of starting the OSHA 10 training for Year 1 and Year 2 students to be certified. There are about 400 students that will go through. We are going through any waiting list to make sure we are fully occupied in the programs. If someone leaves, we're making sure those seats with wait-listed students will be filled. And Mr. Rizzo reviewed the top 3 goals for the Western Tech Center. Goal 1 is still our capital improvement fund conversation. Goal 2 is to expand our programs. It is wonderful to have all of these programs, but we don't want to have students on the waiting list. So many more students would benefit from being at the Western Center. So Mr. Livingood is tackling that head on. And goal 3 is that we've already been seeing the benefits from this. Mr. Livingood has been sending out a biweekly newsletter, and Mr. Robinson is going to be sending out a weekly principals newsletter. And there's been a lot of feedback on the improvements in communication, and people are very excited to know what the Western Center is up to. And I mentioned that. Oh, and basically, our next meeting is October 7th at 7 p.m. at the Western Center, and the meeting after that is November 4th at 7 p.m. And that concludes my report. Any questions, comments?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Weingarten. Mrs. Westwood, Legislative Committee?
Thank you. So the Legislative Committee has not met since June. Our next meeting is October 2nd at 7 p.m. at the MCIU, so I can give an update next month.
Okay, wonderful. Mrs. Goldsmith, PSBA?
Just a couple things. One, registration ends this week for the Pennsylvania State Bar Association School Leadership Conference. I believe it's at Kalahari this year. I think it was at Kalahari last year, too. Another thing to be mindful of is that the school board director's training is coming due. There is still registration available for an October 26th at 9 a.m. virtual training that will be live. So ensure that if you haven't done that, you sign up for that one. And again, I'll be providing that to the board members to sign up as well. And then lastly, there is now, PSBA is offering a cybersecurity pilot program. The application window just opened for school districts to apply to be part of that. And that's something that, I know has been something that has been very important in other districts and as well as ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Mr. Lackey, Spring City American Legion?
Yep. Spring City American Legion Baseball met on Thursday, August 29th at the Royersford Borough Hall. The board discussed the repair of the front gate, which was damaged at the end of the previous school year, rendering it inoperable. The gate has been unable to close since the incident. These repairs are underway. Additionally, the concession stand roof is currently being replaced. Several items were reviewed as part of the preparation for fall rehab efforts. These included the replacement of the tarps for home plate and the pitcher's mound. Certain areas of the food will be resodded to improve the playing surface. A potential leak in the sprinkler system between first and second bases was identified, which is causing a divot along the baselines. There was a meeting scheduled for this Thursday, but that was canceled. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 24th at 7 o'clock at the Royersford Borough Hall. That includes my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. Questions, comments? Mr. Rizzo?
Thank you. Very brief report tonight. First of all, on Wednesday, September 18th, that was last week, Brook Elementary held an ELD meet and greet evening. Various families attended and were provided with information from various community resources, including healthcare, dental, and the YMCA, as well as other valuable community resources. Snacks were provided, and it was a wonderful event to welcome the 30 to 40 existing and new families to Brook Elementary. And retirees, the bittersweet, we have one, Ken Hedrick, the head custodian at the 10th through 12th grade center. He's retiring on February 3rd, 2025. 21 years of service with Springford. So we thank Kenny for his service to the district and for having such a positive impact on so many of our young students. Thank you. That's my report. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzo. And then turning it over to our solicitor, Mr. Fitzgerald.
I have no report this evening.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll move on to the voting portion of our meeting. The voting portion, as for those in the community that may not be familiar with the structure, we go through the voting portion of the meeting at our previous meeting, the work session, ask questions and comments. But of course, if there are any questions or comments that the board currently has, feel free to separate that as we'll go through it. So we're going to start with section 4, letters A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to Section 5, Personnel, letters A through M. Do I have a motion? A second?
Second.
Questions and discussion? I will just make one comment. So as you will be able to see on the agenda for tonight, one of our beloved administrators will be departing Springford, Mr. Bob Catalano, our Director of Technology. And I just want to say best of luck to you at Lower Merion. I think that you are, they are extremely lucky to have you. And I've been honored to work with you as this very capable administrator here in this district. So best of luck. Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to finance, letters A through H. Okay, do I have a motion? A second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to programming and curriculum, Section 7, letter A. Do I have a motion? A second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion on letter A? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to Section 8, property, letters A through C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second? Any questions or discussion?
I'm sorry, I have a question
Oh,
about this.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I wasn't here at the meeting last week. On this, regarding the 2 lawnmowers, and I'm not harping on this, I know that in the past we had some discussion, I don't know if you were part of the board at the time, between what is contracted out and what lawnmowers mowing we do ourselves. Is this to replace ones that we already have, or is this an addition to our existing fleet?
You want to take it? Go ahead.
So this is to replace equipment that we have. Currently, there's 238 acres in the entire district that is mowed. We mow half of that. So we mow about 100 acres.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to Section 9, other business. So we have policies first read, which is not being voted on. So we're looking at Section 9B and C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second? Questions and discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Okay, Section 10 is not for voting purposes, but informational items only for the board and the public. And so with that said, we will move on to board comments. I do have 2 comments. Typically, I like to defer, but since I tabled one last week, I'm going to start here tonight. So the first of which is the board has received a number of communications from the public with regards to transportation issues. I want the community to know that the board and the district takes transportation extremely seriously. It is critical that our students get to and from school safely, consistently, without issue. I want you to know that you have been heard, and I don't want you to think that the board and or the district is turning a blind eye to it. In fact, Mr. Rizzo, I know that you shared that you'd be happy to give a little bit of an update on some of the action steps that have been taken by the district to try to resolve this issue with Custer's.
Yes, so very briefly, we've heard from several of our community members, and we have a bit of a problem right now with drivers, the number of drivers, and it's a long-range term. But we did meet Mr. Fink, Ms. Henry, and I met with Custer's last week, and helped them to develop a plan for how to quickly get back where we need to be with a stopgap solution of maybe looking at other means to get buses from perhaps some of their partners to increase our availability of buses until we can get more drivers trained and hired and running buses. So the big part of that is just making sure that we have people in place. Ms. Henry does a fantastic job of navigating a lot of the concerns, and what he did share with the community was we have 2 significant road closures that are going to be happening or have started happening. We've had some minor ones, but the significant ones are going to be the better part of a year. So she proactively adjusted the routes to accommodate that change. Again, last year, historically, we were short 5 or so drivers, so we reduced 5 routes so that we would kind of mitigate that shortage of drivers, and we're even short a little more this year, which is why we're having some of the issues that we're having. So we're really working to try and be consistent with our transportation. It's going to take some time, so we ask the board and the community to be a little bit patient with us while we work through it.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, as I know that you've been on some emails, as I've been on the same emails, both the administration and I will not speak for the board, but I have a feeling that many others on the board would feel the same way, find the situation unacceptable. So we will continue to work to resolve this. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question related to that?
Yes.
So just a question about if a student is late in the morning, is there excuse that teachers will let them in and not, punish them because they're like 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late due to the busing issue?
Correct. If it is our fault, if it's a transportation issue, there's no penalty on their behalf.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. The second comment I wanted to make was the one from last week that I tabled. So it's been brought to my attention by a couple of board members that there seems to be a desire among at least a couple to create more consistency between the way we operate at board meetings and committee meetings. So what I mean by that is, and again, I'm not going to go back to the date because it happened during the COVID era, and I don't even know that this actually happened when I was on the board, but at one point in time, it was decided that at committee meetings, the public would be able to watch committee meetings via Zoom as well as make comment via Zoom. Whereas here at our board meetings, you can only make comment, while you can watch online, you can only make comment if you are in person. So again, I'm not going to speculate as to why a decision may have been made in the past by board members who are no longer here, but I would like to know if there is a desire from the board at large to create more consistency, and specifically the way we would create consistency is by having our committee meetings run like our board meetings, where if you want to make public comment, you must attend in person, yet we will still make sure that everyone has the opportunity to watch virtually.
So I can bring, some of the, I'd like to talk about that because I was here.
Sorry.
It's okay, when those decisions were made. And, a lot of it was made on the, at the moment, on the fly. We just, we wanted to make sure that we could communicate with everybody that during this pandemic that people had the opportunity to speak. A lot of people had a lot of concerns at the time we were transitioning to a lot of different things. And when we started pulling back on how people could attend or participate in when we went back to in-person and things, it was a transitional decision. There were people on the board who felt very strongly at that time that we had gained a lot more interest in attendance by community members at committee meetings, and so therefore they didn't necessarily want to lose that. Having said that, not everybody agreed with that at the time, and if the purpose is for people to participate, we don't get too many people commenting over the Zoom. at the committee meeting, so I don't think that we are making it so that there are people like at home who want to participate but can't or something like that. So I would be in favor of transitioning back to that where they can attend. They can also always email a question in ahead of time, things like that too, or even afterwards, and we can address that. So.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. My apologies. Yes, you were on the board. All right. Any other comments?
I also agree with that, with aligning the board meetings with the committee meetings.
Thank you.
I do think the consistency makes a lot of sense. There's no reason why we allow it in one space and not the other.
Okay. So maybe I should ask a different question. Are there any objections from any board members with regards to creating the consistency and removing the ability to speak publicly via Zoom at committee meetings? Okay. Mr. Fitzgerald, is there anything from your perspective that needs to happen?
No, I don't think anything needs to happen. My recollection of what occurred was this kind of developed out of a practice that wasn't formally modified an actual policy. So to the extent that the board desires to modify that practice, they simply can do so as you've done it here.
Thank you. And that is all for my comments. Does anyone else have a comment?
I just wanted to follow up. I know I did listen to the board meeting from last week, and it was brought up, mentioned because of the finance meeting, the discussion on period products. And since I've been communicating a lot of this, I just wanted to bring up that it was a very good meeting. We've taken this through several steps now. There seems to be an interest in finding a way to work it into the budget that we could provide a sustainable resource. There is $14,000 and some change that we should be eligible for once we've applied for the grant, assuming that all goes through. It's a non-compete grant, so it should happen. And so I just wanted to, make sure that people were aware that it is something that continues to be discussed. So thank you for the meetings.
Thank you. And just one clarification, because I don't want to mislead the community. When you say that there seems to be interest in working it into the budget, that is among some individual board members. I don't know that we've had the full discussion yet, but I know that Mr. Fink, what we did was we tabled that conversation, or I should say the Finance Committee tabled that conversation for November, when we can start budget conversations and have more clarity on the grant and what that's going to look like for this. But you are correct. It was a good conversation, and we'll continue to have it.
I just wanted to add a quick thank you to Dr. Wright for pursuing this so passionately. It is very appreciated. I know this from overhearing some high school young people talk about it, so it's very impactful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so then we have public to be heard. This can be on any topic, does not have to be held to the agenda. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, please approach the podium with your name and township of residence.
Hello. My name is Adrienne McGar. I am the branch manager at the Royersford Free Public Library, and it's very nice to see everyone again. Welcome back to this school year. Hope everyone's having a good one so far. I just have 3 little updates from the library. First of all, we are now promoting a program called Study Hall. It's exactly what it sounds like. It provides a free and safe space for students to come after school if they need a place to study that is quiet. We have a room that is totally blocked off for them. They have free Wi-Fi, and I myself am a certified teacher, so I can help with some things if they come in and have questions. We have a brand new collection of decodable books, thanks to a very generous grant from Senator Katie Muth. Decodables are a brand new way to teach students how to read. So new emerging readers, struggling readers, they're absolutely wonderful. We have a massive collection of them that are still coming in. So it's very exciting to have those at the library. We encourage people to come check them out. And I also have pamphlets tonight if you would like to know anything else about them. And then finally, we have 3 students, one of whom is here tonight, doing a program called STEM Scouts at the library right now. They approached us, created all of these lessons plans entirely by themselves, 100% self-motivated, and they teach younger students science-based lessons once a month. This month, I believe, was evolution. Before that, we've done the circulatory system, the muscular system. They're absolutely amazing. So all I have to say is 10 out of 10 job. Good job, Annika, and all of your cohorts who are helping teach at the library. So thank you very much for the time to speak tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anyone else would like to make a comment? Motion to adjourn?
Fantastic, yes.